What is that face you're making?
I mean, I'm not doing nothing. He said, look at it.
If you're going to do that, we should all just do that.
No, it's my thing.
Everyone just did.
I have this patent, not you. I thought you were talking about KANON. That's crazy. I'm sorry. That was just...
Race. We're really excited to kind of get into these topics, talk a little bit.
This guy. Can you hear me? That was a heroic exit.
Screw you guys.
This guy busted out of here like he was an absolute heroic exit.
Kool-Aid, man.
Strategy, good times, I guess. These guys are already laughing.
There's no way. There's no way that this person's playing like a mobile game the third day.
Welcome to the first ever Lost Ark Roundtable. We've gathered up.
I mean, I don't know why he's laughing.
Saint, you done ruined it. This is the 19th take.
Welcome to the first ever Lost Ark Roundtable. We've gathered up some creators here today that you might be a little bit familiar with to get together with us and talk about the upcoming Thaemine Legion raid and the Thaemine the First race. We're going to get in a little bit to kind of some of the tips and tricks and what they're excited for, how they're going to be approaching these pieces of content when they come to the game. But before we do that, we're going to take a minute to introduce ourselves just in case the players at home actually aren't familiar with all of us. So I'm Roxx. I'm the product community manager on Lost Ark. I'm going to be here just kind of hosting and moving the conversation along today. Henry, why don't we start with you, Mr. Patch Notes over here?
Yeah, so you might recognize me from the Lost Ark Patch Notes of Henry. I'm Henry, the head of editorial at Amazon Games. And now over to the creators. Want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is KANON, and I'm a returning player.
That's why you're in. That's valid.
Can you include like a little lower third in the video, like Makoko?
Makoko buff.
It's right here. It's right here. Dude, that buff, great. Crisis evasion, Makoko buff.
He needs that.
Pretty clutch.
I wouldn't know, it's never procced for me, but yeah.
That's true.
Hypothetically, it's pretty clutch.
Yeah.
It is.
Perfect. What about you? Who are you?
I'm
Who are you?
Who are you?
I'm Saintone. I don't even play the Western version. They just found me, and they needed someone to sit in this chair. Also, can you censor out the name? No one actually knows how to pronounce my name.
I was just about to call you out on that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they
Make sure to bleep that out in the
I
video.
don't know if they're going to include this, but that was the first time you've actually said it.
Yeah.
Oh.
You might know me from the Breaker Academy guide that they recently posted, but I'm here to talk a little bit about Thaemine since I've been through it and just some tips and tricks along the way.
My name is Stoopzz. I play a lot of Lost Ark. You may have seen me talking about the game.
All right.
I don't know what else to say.
We have Patch Notes with Henry. We have Makoko. We have Korean players. We have maybe talking about the game. We've assembled this panel.
Mostly I'm talking about the game, not playing it most of the time.
Clearly a very in-depth panel of very different individuals.
Talking about the game or just talking in the category?
Both. Both.
Longest intro NA to streams.
That would be your lower third. Best known for the 4-hour intro.
It's actually the 5-hour intro.
Oh my
Gotta
God.
draw it out.
It is the 5-hour intro.
I was waiting for the Breaker stream, and we got a 2-hour podcast, which was nice.
That's rare for me on patch day. Usually I hop right into it, but I decided I was going to take my time and getting into it. And patch day is stressful,
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, there actually were quite a lot of things that came out in the last patch. I wanted to get into that a little bit before we look ahead to Thaemine, especially with you, KANON, as kind of this quote-unquote returning player. There's a ton of progression events that are in the game right now, and I know you're working on a video for that to kind of go through some of them. So maybe you, KANON and Henry, want to talk a little bit about all of the progression events that are in the game right now and how players can get caught up and get ready to get to Thaemine.
I have a video that's going to be releasing pretty soon on the AGS channel as well as my YouTube channel, and it is a video in regards to these new passes, which, to be perfectly honest, was a big reason why I've been recently kind of hooked. That's not a paid message. I have been kind of hooked on Lost Ark again. Breaker has been a phenomenal class for me to play. That's like my favorite preferred archetype. And these passes.
He's lying, by the way. I convinced him to play Breaker. I sat there in a Discord call, shared all the little videos with you. I sold you on the class.
You did?
Gave me some credit on this.
You did,
not including your message.
But what is my preferred archetype? Has always been.
That's why I sold you on. I told you.
But you know that's my type. Yeah.
I brought you back.
All right, we'll give Stoopzz some credit.
I should get some credit.
All right,
here.
Yeah.
All right. To be fair, we'll give him a lot of credit. Stoopzz. Thank you, Stoopzz.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Stoopzz.
You're welcome.
But
Satisfied?
yeah.
He roasted me earlier. I'm gonna get his ass.
roast you.
Talking in the category.
Oh, that was good though.
It was.
It was
I mean,
me trying to help you expand.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey guys, next Asmongold. I don't know if I should say
That's
that.
just too. That's
Yeah.
okay. All right.
Okay, we'll cut that. But anyways, the passes. So these passes have been just a big W for the game, in my personal opinion. The previous Jumpstart was kind of exciting for new players, but I really think this event in particular was a lot better for new players and returning players, if I'm going to be perfectly honest.
I think so too, yeah.
Yeah, like the Arcasia tour, where you're essentially just giving everyone the horizontal after completing a few easy missions. I think that alone was like awesome, a huge highlight. Like for me, I had a lot of that stuff done already, but the fact that I can invite friends over and be like, yeah, you don't actually have to do all that stuff. Sure, there's some stuff that you have to farm, but you know, every MMO, you got to farm that stuff to a certain degree. It's not overwhelming. And then just being able to see the raids, like just knowing that the raids are right there, because like if you start an MMO and it's like, you can't do the end game content with your friends, it's like, it can be a little bit discouraging to start a game.
For sure.
But like this, it's like, okay, well, I can legitimately play raids with these friends. Like if I created a new account today, I could play with Saint and Stoopzz tomorrow.
Maybe not me.
Well, you could on a new account.
Yeah.
I'm 1620 already on NA West.
Oh, are you?
Oh,
really?
Soon to be merged though.
Yeah.
Are
Right?
you really?
Yeah,
he
I've
is.
been there for a little while.
I mean, I know you used to
No, he
play, but
is.
you kept playing.
He is, yeah.
Oh, did you take
That's
advantage
cool.
of the new passes?
I haven't, but I wish I did because it was pretty.
What do you mean you wish? You can.
No, because I'm already 1620. It goes up to 1619.
Oh, I mean, you can make it on another character.
Oh, yeah, I can make it on another character. I'm just saying, like, I mean, you remember last time you played the game, what kind of catch-up mechanics there were?
Yeah.
It was
tough.
It was not as good
Yeah.
as now.
But this is the thing that we were talking about before at home.
Yeah, because we always get people in our streams that are always like, oh,
When
is now a good time to start playing Lost Ark again? And it's like, it's always the best time.
the next event is always the best.
Yeah,
event.
the next one's always the best one.
Yeah, that's how it's been.
It's just like this gradual thing. So like last time, when the Super Makoko Express came out, people were like, oh man, this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Now this one is coming out and this has like stuff on top of that and the horizontal express. And then it's like, okay, this is the best one ever. So,
Yeah.
it's always the best time to come back.
Yeah.
As far as the events go, those will be, they're in the game until the middle of July, but the horizontal pass is permanent in the game. That'll just be around for players whenever.
Yeah.
So even if players come back later on, they'll still be able to check that out. But yeah, the events right now are pretty, we're really happy with how players are able to progress. Obviously we have, KANON's video is going to dive into all those different events in that video. In terms of like just coming back to the game, obviously the passes like kind of help you accelerate through some of those raids. And, we're talking about how they get you to kind of normal Thaemine at 1610. What are some of the other things that you're like experiencing as you come back to the game that might be helpful for a new player? Like, are there like types of raids or things to learn in the raids that you would recommend, like as players kind of prepare for Thaemine?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit easier now to actually get acclimated to the raids.
Mm-hmm.
Like gatekeeping obviously exists in every MMO, but like the fact that you're essentially getting to start at what's her name? 1490. Brel, but also the Legion raids before it. Oh my god, Vicus and Vault and all those things. Like if you do that, you're not just immediately jailed. Like you can do it with people that can essentially clear it when you want to clear it for you and can kind of walk you through that, assuming that you have friends and party members that can do that for you. So I think it is a little bit easier to get acclimated to these raids. And to be perfectly honest, for me, I really like the newer raids better. Like
Yeah.
I really like Volten. I thought Vicos was pretty fun. And then after it, like I know Stoopzz likes Clown, but I thought Clown was okay. But then Brel kind of lost me, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. I was kind of like, okay, it's good, but I don't know. And then when I came back and I started doing Kyangel
Kyangel's a
and
stinker.
Akan.
I do not like
I
Kyangel.
love
There's
Kyangel.
no way you're out of your mind.
Kyangel's really
Akan is amazing.
frustrating.
You're lying. There's
No.
absolutely no shot.
They
I
really-
love it.
What classes do you play again?
Glavier, Deathblade. I mean, I can list all 14 of my classes. if you
Yeah,
want,
all right.
but-
They're all 1640, I know. I don't know. I don't know. It just teleports too much, leaves too
Yeah,
often,
yeah.
just phases too fast. But
Mm.
Akan is great.
Yeah,
Akan is
Akan was
amazing.
good,
Yeah.
and the last one that
Voldus.
I did, Voldus. Yeah,
I think
Voldus
Voldus
is fun.
We watched your prog when we
It was
came
super
back.
entertaining.
It was just some random morning we saw him progging Voldus, and it was just like we had one of our friends ATK in the call
yeah.
with him as well, and he's just screaming, "Hit the boss! Hit the boss!"
Yeah.
And it's like it's almost like jarring watching the new player experience because like when you play the game enough, right? Because of the way that Lost Ark is, you do the same raid just like
Right.
hundreds of times.
Yeah.
You almost become jaded
Right.
about what it's like because you've just gotten used to going through the motions of these raids. You know the fight so well. You see someone doing a raid for the first time, and you're like, I mean that's crazy. It's so
fun to watch,
chaotic.
Yeah, yeah. I told Albert or ATK. I told him I was like, okay. I was doing it with ATK and Honed, one of the
Yeah.
people in our community, and I was like, all right, you guys know the fight. You guys do your thing, but don't tell me how the mechanics work or the patterns until after I die to them.
Mm.
So like I
Okay.
went in there essentially blind, personally blind.
Yeah.
But obviously we had the power to clear it whenever. So it wasn't like a complete jail because they have gear and they know what the fights are like. And I went in there, I'm trying to figure out these things. I'm just like, what is happening? It was a lot of fun.
Were there like types of patterns or things that you struggled with, whether that was like maintaining uptime while doing the patterns, or like what kind of things would you recommend like newer players trying to figure out the balance between?
What do you mean?
He doesn't know because he's making all the mistakes. Uptime. This guy's running around doing laps. I don't know what's going on. I messaged him like, attack the boss.
Yeah.
He's doing laps.
Oh man.
Were there just like types of mechanics or something that you struggled to like learn in particular that you might recommend players focus on that might be harder for them to?
Okay, honestly, I think what Lost Ark actually does a pretty good job on is taking previous patterns and adding them to like the most recent
Yeah, that's
fights,
true.
Yeah.
/ adding on
That's
to them.
really true, yeah.
Kind of
And-
leveling them
yeah.
up as you progress. Yeah.
So since I've done the previous Legion raids, it was kind of like, oh, Medusa mech. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
And I know what
you could
that
just say
is.
the OG name, like
Yeah.
the original name, right? And then
Yeah.
and then if you give everyone knows Medusa just means don't look.
Right. Yeah. So I think I don't think there's anything in particular that's like too difficult to learn. But there are a few that might be a little ping sensitive, but I thought overall it was pretty easy
Cool.
to learn.
I think
Yeah.
what you were saying earlier, though, just based because Canon is coming back. There's a guy named Revel. I don't know if I can show him. He makes really cool YouTube videos about Lost Ark, but he's also getting into the game. He's a new person, and it was really he had done all of the horizontal and gone through all of it. It's a really interesting journey, and he just actually recently cleared a con, so I got to watch that too. And for him, he did it all without the horizontal express, and he actually said he preferred that, right? But then for some of my other friends, I think what's so cool about the event is that you can just get if you got a buddy, you can just say, hey, hop into the game, we can just play some raids, right? Like that's a lot of how it'll go with most MMOs that I've played is like you try to convince your friends to play, like, yo, play this game with me, right? So if you have the ability to if you want, go through the horizontal and get all those runes that you need, because I've had friends before, it's like, oh, if you want to play a Lunar Reaper, you have to go farm those wealth runes, and that sucks.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? That's
yeah.
a lot of, but
Yeah.
you might be into that, but if you're not, it's kind of
Yeah.
prevents you from like playing the build or the class. So just being able to instantly hop in with some buddies and get over that horizontal like hurdle, I think is huge because there's not a lot of games right now that you can just instantly hop in and experience Lost Ark's combat, which is what, at least for me, why I still play the game. It's the combat is just so fun. The class
Yeah.
launches are so fun. And obviously the raids are fun. But most of the combat in the classes. So I think the ability just to hop in
Right.
is huge.
I mean,
You know?
even if you didn't want to stick with the game for like a long
Yeah,
time. Even
dude.
if you want to just be a tourist and just be like, oh, you know, why are people playing the game? What makes Lost Ark unique? You can literally just like jump in, play some raids, and then if you want to commit to the grind going forward from there, then you can.
That's what I say all the time.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
why not? It's like a zero commitment thing.
I say hop. Whenever there's a hyper express, like, oh, is now the time to try the game? Is it a good time? I'm like, dude, just hop in with the event, try out the new class, and I bet you're gonna have fun.
I think the
Don't worry
hard-
about like the raids or whatever. Just like try out some Guardians, try out the combat. Because when I first started playing the game, like that's what got me hooked. Just the sound effects and like playing the class. I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, this is sick.
Breaker sound effects are pretty
Yeah,
sick.
they're huge, right?
Okay,
And then-
well, if you were someone coming in, right, and let's say you were a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Reserved, right? Because that's literally the opposite of what you are.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. So how would you go
Is that
about
a jab or is that like a?
It might be.
Okay.
A lot of people, they talk about like they come in and they can't find parties. Right?
Yeah.
They don't want to be the person who makes the party, because that's the advice that we always give is like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, if you can't find a party, make one yourself. But like not everyone wants to do that, and a lot of
Yeah.
people actually suffer from that kind of like anxiety. Not only in Lost Ark, but I've seen in other games as well. They don't want to be the person
Yeah.
who takes the initiative to gather the people,
Right.
but they don't know what resources to actually find people. And I mean, it is a criticism of Lost Ark. There is no alternative gearing path, right? They've talked about like other ways to segue players, new players during the Korean yearly conference Loa On. And they talked about things like solo raids and whatnot. And a lot of people are excited about that, right? The ability to just like start the game and, you know, just experience the combat without having it on your own. No stress, right? Because once you're in a party, I think new people, they stress out a lot. They're like, oh, what if I mess up?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like a big fear of new people. So like, how would you go about like,
I was going to ask you, what's the question? I was just lost.
it's a lead up, okay? It's a follow-up.
Okay.
Okay. How would you start if you were new to get your
Dude,
foot
this sounds like
in the door?
it sounds like such a plug, but honestly, you gonna say something?
I kind of had one for it, if you're
What?
open for it.
Well, I got one too, so let's hear yours first.
Well, I was going to plug your LFG Discord, first of all.
All right, there you go.
Stoopzz and you know, a bunch of other creators have made that Discord, and I'll let you talk to that in a second. But I'll say one thing that I've done personally with my guild and some of the people that I've found playing Lost Ark is our guild like advertises that we're open to accepting new players into the guild and
Yeah.
willing to teach any of the raids
Mm.
as long as they're willing to like learn and, you know, play with the guild and stuff like that. So I think there are a lot of communities, and sometimes it can, if you're not that proactive, can be harder to find them. But if
For
it's
sure.
something you're interested in and you want to get into the game, I would say there's a lot of communities that you can find out.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I definitely, for me as well, like when I started really playing the game, it was your guild and like your friends that I was like, okay, I'm ready to learn. And I went into a couple Vaultons with just a couple people I knew, like really early on. And I was like, okay, I can figure this out. But like, it's a totally different experience playing with people that are like totally willing to teach you and willing to like go through those steps with you and like have fun with it versus kind of going into a pug. So I think that's huge.
Yeah, it's such a big thing. I mean, just to touch on that, we do have an LFG Discord. But there's so many of those. Actually, in that Discord, depending on the region that you're currently in, even though they're going to be merged, we have links to other helping Discords specifically for your region too. But just how would I go about approaching these situations? I think ultimately you have to find a community of people, which that's what makes Lost Ark an MMO. It's kind of sometimes the games that feel like very MMO-ish, right? Because you're doing a lot of solo content. But the reality is like having friends in Lost Ark is such an advantage because a lot of the end game content is group content. So you do have to find people to play with. And you just got to find a place where you guys share something in common. It's a plug, but I really think Twitch is a great place. Obviously, there's drops that go off often, but you can find people that will easily help you there if you just ask. And I think what makes like having friends in Lost Ark is so OP because it doesn't matter what your class is, what your gear is. I have friends that haven't played in a long time. When they hop back in, their gear is awful. But I'm like, yo, like let's do a con, right? And so if you have friends, you don't have to worry so much about like your character, your engravings, your gems, your setups, because people are going to help you. And most people overgear the content anyway. So
Even just having one
Just having
person
one buddy.
that you can duo with just makes a world of a difference.
And not
week
only
by week.
but it makes, not only is it an advantage, and they have a bunch of alts that you can rotate in, not only is it an advantage, but it makes the content way more fun if you've got someone to play with. So
Yeah.
I know it's hard, dude. Like I know for a lot of people, making friends in games isn't exactly what it used to be.
Isn't that crazy? We play MMOs, and MMOs have just become so antisocial.
But you do all of your raids in a static of people, right? So
yeah, I
just
do
think,
most of them like that.
I think if you're listening, go to Twitch, reach out to a Discord, make that first step, and then if you find just one person, it can make the whole experience worth it.
Great. So it sounds like right now is a really good time for players to return. Well, it's always a good time for players to return, apparently. But with all the progression events, lots of good pieces of advice, like finding a community to play with is super helpful. I know it was for me. And just taking some time to get acclimated to all of the different Legion raids will help you kind of learn the game and figure out, how you need to progress and get better and progress all the way into eventually being able to play Thaemine. As most of you probably know, Thaemine is coming out on April 17th. With that April update, it's not only the Legion raid that's going to drop, but there are a couple new other systems and games that we'll get to, as well as the new balance patch. One of those systems coming is the Transcendent system. So Henry, do you want to get a little bit into just like a high level of what that is and what players should expect?
Yeah, for sure. I can give a quick intro to it, but we can talk about it more kind of after Thaemine and maybe some strategies on how to use it through Thaemine. But it's a new system for increasing your power level. Kind of similar to Elixirs in the facet of its imbuing your gear with more power rather than adding new gear that you have to hone or new honing systems in that way. But will give a pretty substantial power and defense increase for both attacking and support playstyles.
Cool. So with Thaemine about to release as the final Legion raid against the final Legion commander, what are some of the things y'all are most looking forward to or most excited about? Any particular parts of this release?
I am looking forward to, I'm anxiously excited about the raid because I know the raid's really challenging. It's very normal pattern heavy. And so I got some good advice from my dear friend Saintone. And I did an application process. We had 67 applicants. Of those, I ended up just picking my friends. This is the third time I've told this joke, so you need to laugh at it.
Rigged.
But it was a rigged process. But I ended up picking my friends because honestly, I just wanted to make sure that I enjoyed the experience of being in there because it is going to be the most challenging Legion raid probably to date. And a lot of people are taking off work for this if they're so seriously trying to clear. And I just want to make sure that the experience is fun, right? Most Legion raids usually you clear in a day, but obviously we've seen in other regions it takes sometimes up to 2 weeks, right? And so if that's the case, I'd rather pick people that I know that I can depend on versus just people that maybe have the most experience in other content or maybe the best gear possible. So I'm looking forward to it for that.
That's definitely the way to go about it because in my experience, a lot of the groups that recruited for it, they didn't end up being able to last because when we went through it, we thought it was going to be a raid that was going to be over in a couple days, right? Tops. So people would set aside a couple days off from work and stuff like that at best. And then 5 days in, my group dismantled because there was differences in what people wanted to do. Some people wanted to go for a top 3 region clear. Some wanted to do top 10 region clear. And just that difference just made it really evident that we weren't on the same page when the group formed in the first place. And so if you're going to be recruiting for this raid, it is a very challenging raid. He is that guy. Okay, you've seen him since earlier in the game story. All he says is, He doesn't even say anything and he's menacing. And so it's find the right people to play with because you might be in there for a little while just because it's challenging. It's to tee things off. It's the end of the Legion Commander arc.
I want to let you chime in too because I know that you're going to be doing the raid as well. But I did want to just touch on that I have been. Me and you started playing the game around the same time actually back in the day, and I've been looking at that Legion Commander screen. As they add new commanders at the top. For so long, and I'm just ready to take on Thaemine and then kind of just take on a new chapter of Lost Ark. It's definitely the end of this chapter, and I'm excited about that. I'm nervous for how the encounter is going to go. I don't know if I'm going to grief my group, but
it's fun though. Not fun.
That is going to fun sometimes.
The raid is fun. It's a super different kind of raid, right? maybe some people had some difficulty with Brel because the gimmicks were like really challenging and they were very mentally taxing. Thaemine's like very different. Like again, I'm not really sure if I can say this, but he's as close as you'll ever get to like a Souls-like kind of boss. Yeah, it's very normal pattern heavy, and you're depending on your teammates to just like acclimate to the patterns, dodge them, because they're very multi-layered. They're a lot more complicated than the usual patterns of Lost Ark, but that's what makes it fun. He's a physically taxing fight more than a mentally taxing one.
I think for you, it'll be fun too, because this will be, since you have come back to the game with all the events and everything that's going on, you're having to kind of learn the raid that everyone else already knows, but this will be your opportunity to learn alongside other people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm kind of interested. I'm curious as to how NAEU is going to do with this raid in comparison to like the Korean prog. I wasn't following the Korean prog as you were. Like you had like a watch party going on and everything, but I know it took a while, right? Like I know it was like a big deal. And you know, there's a lot of people right now currently, depending on when this video is published, but right now as we're filming, there's a lot of people that are kind of speculating, you know, the Russian team or the Russian guilds or teams or, you know, the Russian region, it took them this long to clear it. And I don't know, obviously our version in the West, a lot of people have guides already, you know, ATK is already putting out his guides and whatnot. And
Memorize has them too, yeah.
Yeah, Memorize has got another guide. I think those are the only two guides so far, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be other guides as well, but
we need Henry to make some guides. I think Henry should definitely start busting out some raid guides. I think it'd be great, no? Michael?
I don't know, man.
Guys?
Official AGS
I
handbook.
swear, Henry can make some amazing guides. I feel like that's amazing content.
Well, I actually want to know too, Henry. You've talked about. I know you're really excited to go through it, but like, what are because Saint was talking about like different people in his like group had different goals. Like, what are your goals for the raid? I don't think I've actually talked to you about this.
Yeah, so I mean, we're obviously talking about the first in a little bit, which is like a whole nother aspect of this. My group, we're just going to go right into hard mode, I think, and try that out. We're just, you know, focused on clearing it. What I do is I try and do like a semi-blind prog. Obviously, I need to like know a lot about the raid for work and for my job. So I'll learn like what it's about, you know, watch some, you know, I've seen Saint play it probably like 5 or 6 times at this point. But in terms of the like, I don't memorize all the normal patterns. That's the kind of thing that I like to experience blind and feel fresh as I'm going through it. So for me, I'm super excited to just like learn all the normal patterns, try and maximize my uptime.
I think that's what's going to make the raid so fun, is because it is going to be so many normal patterns, right? And that's like really the difficulty of the fight.
You can't really practice.
Exactly.
Reading a guide or watching a guide, it can only prepare you so much.
Yeah.
Usually you have to get hit by something before you realize, oh, I need to
The timing of it with your abilities and all that stuff. Yeah.
I'm also a really greedy player, so I know I'm going to wipe my team a ton of times. So apologies to them if they're watching this video.
Yeah, I think it's cool too is that it's going to be a raid that I do think a lot of players that take advantage of the event can get to, right? Because 1610 and 1630. 1630 is definitely a hard item level to reach. You have to be an active player playing a lot. But 1610 with the events that we have and all of them going into that, I think I have a bunch of friends that, again, I've convinced, like, yo, hop into the game. There's an event going on. I said, I'll do Theamine normal with them. Yeah. And so I'm looking forward to that because it's just going to be me and a bunch of my friends, which they're not very good, but neither am I. So it's
that's what everyone's are for.
For sure. Yeah, I'm excited for that.
But yeah, that's my goal. Clear hard is. I want to do the first eventually. I don't know if I'll be racing, but I think trying that difficulty eventually.
The cool thing about the first is it's not an equalized content, unlike Inferno difficulties. So, you know, with that power system that you guys brushed on, Transcendence, as time goes on and you develop that system from just doing normal and hard mode, you'll get stronger, and some of the stress and difficulty of doing the first slowly goes away just because your group is pushing a lot more.
It can be as hard as you want it, right?
Yeah, the sooner you challenge it, the harder it is. And then it could just get to a point where, you know, there's like just no DPS check whatsoever.
Yeah.
Now in the Korean version of the game, actually, the first was just an event. It only stayed for 6 months because as time goes on, we're getting introduced to more power systems that are just slowly trivializing it more and more from future raids. I don't know if you guys can talk to this, but is the first also like a 6-month or temporary event in the Western version?
I think that's the current plan. We should be able to announce the dates in like the full release notes
Yeah.
that we do.
We will.
Yeah, one thing that I can definitely guarantee is that there is enough time where you don't have to FOMO it. Like if you challenge it in like 4 or 5 months later down the line, you'll have enough time to clear it. You know, I've seen all of my friends clear it with enough time and practice.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of time to clear it, though, it is going to be fun to see all the different regions, EU, NA, and there's even a crazy group in South America. His name's Kai. He's an Esther 8 sharpshooter. He's huge. His group, dude, his group's going to be, I think they're going to stream it too. So that's going to be, he's probably the only Esther 8 sharpshooter that exists. I don't know. No one plays that class, except me, but.
for now.
Yeah, for now. I might be switching to Breaker. By the time of this recording, I may be on a Breaker in Thaemine. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, it's going to be really fun to see all these people competing. So if you do want to tune in, I think that'll be a fun watch.
Yeah, we can get into that a little bit.
Sure.
The Thaemine, the first race, will actually be starting 3 days after the April update. So it's going to start on Saturday, April 20th. One thing too I like that you touched on is like seeing all the different regions compete. It's going to open at the same time globally, which is 10 a.m. PT, 5 p.m. UTC. You can convert that to wherever you are in the world. So we're going to have kind of global in the West leaderboards to kind of follow along and see who really is like the first group that is going to clear and where they're from. And then, of course, players in each region, those top 10 kind of groups will get their own like per region rewards in game. But yeah, having that kind of moment where all the players in the West are going to come out and competing for that kind of those top spots, I think is going to be really, really exciting to watch.
A few questions on that. So the first, literally the mode, it opens a few days after
Yes.
the patch.
The reason for that is in the Western version, you have to clear
Hard
hard
mode.
mode before you're
Yeah,
eligible.
that
to
happened
clear
in
the
Russia
first.
too.
Yep.
Yeah, that was unique.
Yep.
And then the rewards in Korea, the first place team, they ended up getting special emotes made of the party members. Is there similar rewards for Western players should they, be able to challenge and get that position?
So there will be like the top tier rewards that are the in-game stuff, the titles, the stronghold structures. I can probably throw it to Roxx. We're planning on doing an emote competition to add new emotes into the game. But, in Korea, it was obviously like it had that extra layer of the prog and kind of immortalizing those players.
Right.
Because it's not that exact same experience, we wanted to open that up to the whole community.
That's cool though. There's gonna be another emote contest.
This will,
Yep.
at the time of this video, that will already be ongoing.
Really?
Yeah.
I tried
Okay.
getting some in there last time.
You,
None of them popped up. None of them appeared.
yeah, it'll be cool to do that. We know it's not exactly the same as kind of having those
No, I
characters
think we all.
immortalized,
That's good.
The
but-
cool thing is we actually all use the Western emotes.
They're
They're
so
Oh, yeah,
good.
they're
They are
really-
really good.
They're really
Yeah.
genuinely, like I know this based on data from our BI team. They are all the top used
Yeah.
emotes in the game.
Can you say the most used one? Is it Stare?
There has to
That's
be.
my top one.
Yeah,
for sure.
you sent me that in a DM. I DM'd you. You responded with
I
Sarah.
actually don't remember off the top of my head.
It's
The
Stare.
Shy one's pretty
The
popular
shy,
too.
I was gonna
with
say,
the-
it's
Yeah,
either,
the
I
shy
think it's
one.
either Stare or the Shy.
The jail
one.
one's probably used quite a bit as
Jail,
well.
yeah.
Yeah. That's always
Maybe
used.
with-
in my
maybe with
parties.
you,
I don't know
Stoopzz.
why.
Yeah, I don't
it's just
know.
kind of weird. I don't know what's going on. Everyone just uses it in my parties. Not sure why.
They do it on purpose.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll give players a cool opportunity to kind of
Yeah.
create something to come out at the same time, and they won't be quite ready to use, in those first clears, but to have ongoing at the same time when a lot of people are kind of back to the game and excited about it.
Yeah. And the ones in Korea, they had like a lot of cool different ones in different styles. Our last emote competition was Makoko focused. This one's going to be on all the characters in Lost
Oh,
Ark.
that's
so if
cool.
people want to have things that
Oh.
are like,
Wait,
maybe a
maybe-
meme with some of the characters.
But
that
we can
aren't
have
just
Thaemine
Makokos.
emotes, and
Yeah.
that's going to be
On the
sick.
NPCs.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yo, that's
excited.
great. This is good news.
Kinda emotes? Too soon?
Probably too.
She's-
Ah.
We'll see. We'll see
Maybe.
what people come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, any of the NPCs. Makokos are also welcome because we're not going to.
Community voted, right?
Yeah.
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 We'll select the
We'll
finalists.
pick the finalists, but yeah. But yeah, it'll be really great to get those in the game as kind of an exciting thing going on at the same time. As well.
I think. Are you gonna? What is your plan for that? Actually, just to kick it back to the first thing, because I think I'm going to go for it.
For hard or Thaemine?
Well, I'm gonna go for hard mode, and depending on how
Yeah.
bad it is, and which or how hard it is at least, and how my friends hold up and shape up, and
Yeah.
how much time they can take off work, maybe. I'll probably try it. You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Are you
Yeah.
gonna try the first mode?
I think I'm in the same boat as you.
Let's see how it goes.
My expectations, like I don't have super high expectations, but I mean,
What do you
know
mean?
me
What do you mean by
personally.
that?
Well, like I'm not going into this thinking, okay, I'm trying to get first place here.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to do the best we can.
I'm not going for that either. Relax, bucko. We're not going for the first
I'm
move.
just saying.
I'm just going to
like me and my group. See, we're still trying to form our group. I think we got about half our party done. I'm going in with a couple other content creators, who are also returning. We're pretty excited about doing it.
That's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
When you're
Content.
progging on content, do you listen to your own music or do you listen to the in-game music?
Depends on the music.
I listen to in-game music.
That's a
If-
dangerous
if,
call
if it's
for
10
Thaemine.
if it's 10 hours of opera, you're gonna do 10 hours of
I
opera.
did it for Bro. Yeah.
Actually,
Did
no,
you
I
do
did
that
it.
song?
Phantom Opera. And
That
Bro,
song
yeah.
is hard for me to.
Brell's
Brell's
OST is goated.
It's amazing.
Thamine's OST is really good, but
Yeah.
it does induce a certain sleepiness
Okay.
after a certain
Really?
amount
My
of time.
favorite is a con though. That like
That's so
heavy
sick.
metal.
Like,
That was
Clown's
sick.
OST is
I enjoyed that one a lot.
incredible.
Yeah.
Clown, I actually got. When I progged Clown for the first time, I remember laying in bed and hearing Clown music when I was closing my eyes. I'm not
That's
kidding.
crazy.
It was me, Bard, and Nuki. We were in there
On RU?
on RU at the time. It was when I first started playing the game. And yeah, I was literally just hearing Clown music. And I woke up just like, it was bad. I'm not kidding. It was bad.
Ready to dodge a saw coming at you.
Dude, it's easier nowadays though. They made some changes to it. The
Yeah.
saws don't. I actually tested that. I ran through a few of the saws.
Yeah.
They still killed me, but.
All right. So we talked a lot about like playing with your friends and that kind of team. comp.
Sure.
In terms of like actual game mechanics, Saint, obviously you've played the raid a ton. Are there any things that for people that are still looking to form their parties that you might recommend, like in terms of like stagger output, weak point, you know, all the like key mechs in the game?
So the raid itself, in the second gate, there is actually a mechanic where everybody needs to counter, but outside of that, it's kind of weird because some gates like you don't need a counter at all, and then there's some gates where it's like super important, and then like as far as like stagger and all that kind of stuff goes, like here and there it's useful. I would say that the most useful thing though is try to pay attention to your defense as you go into the raid, because since the patterns are so multi-layered, when you're learning the raid, it's kind of hard to avoid like everything. Right?
Yeah.
You might think a pattern is over. It's got like 2 or 3 more swings in it. You get hit, and then Thaemine, he hits really hard. So
Kind of like
it's,
a war of attrition.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually like a slugfest.
Yeah.
Like you're slapping him, he's slapping you back. Yeah, and so having a little bit of extra defense is actually pretty useful, because if you die because you're sitting on like, let's say like 110,000 HP, you think you're safe, and then boom, he hits you, and then all your HP is gone because you're playing a squishier class. Well, it's kind of hard to carry on without you, because while the DPS checks aren't that bad in Thaemine, a dead DPS doesn't do DPS.
Yeah.
And so if the pull has to reset because you got nuked, it can be tough if it's early on, because these pulls are really long. And so one of my recommendations is try to pay attention to your defense. The quality of your armor is having a bit more HP. In Korea, what a lot of people did for progging is for the last gate, they took Ether Predator in place of like a weaker AP engraving like Cursed Doll or something, just because that extra defense is nice. And it doesn't take that long to stack, 3-4 minutes to stack it all the way to 30 stacks, but the fight's like 20 plus minutes long. It's like, that's a pretty good trade-off.
Yeah.
If it means that like a potentially failed pull can keep going because you survived something that would otherwise kill you.
I remember people doing that.
And if not Ether Predator, there's like other options. Like if like with your elixirs on the chest piece, there's a special option for defense.
I'm rocking one of those.
Yeah, it's actually really good.
I've heard a lot of supports do like a crisis evasion
It
+1.
is.
Yeah, they
because
definitely have to bring
This
that.
is the first raid,
Yeah.
I would say, in a very if not ever, where supports can actually be threatened just as much as a DPS.
Yeah.
If not because of gravity death, then because just the raw damage output from the boss is
Your
so
job's
high.
to live, as a support, right? You gotta make sure you're alive.
This
for
is
that one.
definitely a raid where, like, if the support goes down, the DPSs are really at the mercy of the boss. And so I think just having a little bit of extra defense would just go a long way. I know having upgrading the weapon is cool. I love spending a few million gold just for a 1% damage
awesome,
increase,
yeah.
but also there's been some information going around about a hidden mechanic called the defense gate. And it's just this really obscure mechanic. Basically, the more you upgrade your armor, the less damage you take. Everyone already knows that, but then there's like a hidden extra damage that you take, and it's been in the game since forever. Thaemine has it too, but I wouldn't focus too much on it. It's not actually that relevant. Just
He's referring to your armor pieces. Your
yeah,
under
you
eye level.
don't need your armor to be at a specific amount, but just if you're a squishier class, try to have some form of defense in there, and I think it'll help you a lot during your prog.
Are there any tips for supports that you would say other than stay alive? How to
Don't
best
die.
keep your teammates alive?
I can at least comment on what we're having our supports do, I guess, because obviously I haven't been in the raid yet. This is the first raid. This is gonna be the first Legion raid that I haven't done ahead of time, by the way. So this is going to be my first going into Thaemine. I specifically didn't want to spoil this one. I think just one of the things is that as a support, you're really used to just, keeping up your brand, your AP buff. But a lot of the time, there's not many opportunities to DR or damage reduction in farm content when you're going through your weeklies, because no one's taking a ton of damage. But in this raid, it's going to be really important to make sure that you DR certain patterns if you can help. So doing hell mode content, if possible, if you have some friends or if you're going in with your group, can really help with that, because the bosses just do a lot more damage. And so there are patterns that you can just practice DRing and getting closer with your support. So if you got a group of friends, bringing them into hell mode, I think will at least be beneficial for them to learn how to DR more often. Because again, it's kind of you're just maybe using it just for gauge, or just trying to go through your cycles as fast as possible to go through the content as fast as possible. But having more effective DRs, I think, will be helpful, at least for this raid.
And then Saint, you also mentioned earlier just talking about how Transcendence will help with the first difficulty. Just even as people are playing through kind of normal and hard, are there any strats that you'd recommend for what players should look for first as they're trying to upgrade and use that system?
Transcendence is... It takes a while for the actual benefits of Transcendence to kick in. So the first few weeks, you're not really going to get much out of it.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of the system, it offers a good 16 to 19% additional damage. And then for supports, it makes your buff potency a lot stronger, even more so than elixirs.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of power to be gained there, but you won't really notice it for quite a while. So I wouldn't rely on that for sure.
Okay.
Yes.
This is so out there, but I do know, I think it took, obviously it was totally blind in Korea when it came out, but around 2 weeks or so, it took some time in Russia. I just want everybody's guess for how long they think. I don't know.
I think there is a
mode,
group.
Or,
I was going to
how
actually
fast
ask that
someone might
earlier.
clear
I think there is a
first.
group. Well, I think getting hard mode in and the first in 1 week is going to be really hard to do. I do 100% believe there's teams on a couple of the regions that will do hard mode week 1, but you have to wait the 3 days, right? To start the first, right? So they can't hop into it right away. So that
And
gives
they have to clear hard first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 3 days to do hard is already kind of challenging, but let's say they're able to get through it quickly, but it doesn't give them a ton of time to get through the first. And just based on what I've seen elsewhere, the first mode still takes, even after you've cleared hard mode, it still takes, even though it's a similar fight, it still takes a little bit extra time, just because you don't get to reset your potions in gate 4, and obviously the damage checks are a bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really lose anyone either. So I don't know. I think it's possible to see week 1 on our region.
Is that for the first or for hard mode? Was
For
the
sure,
question
hard
for-
mode, I think we'll see some clears.
Yeah.
The first, I think it's possible.
Week 1?
But if not, I think 10. My prediction is 10 days.
What
If-
about you, Saint? I want to know because you were in it, kind of Korea.
I'm really curious because this April, by the time this goes up, it will be April, but in the Korean region, Smilegate mentioned that after the first goes away in Korea, they would apply additional nerfs to hard mode and normal mode. And I'm curious what the timing of that will be, if people will actually be able to experience that, or if he'll just come later on, like way later down the line. But overall, I do, 100%. I think hard mode will be cleared in the first week. There's a lot of people that are taking it very seriously, that are like studying the fight very in depth. Some of them have even had some experience in the raid already, which will help a lot. But unless you like assemble like a full group of people that have experienced the fight, you're only as strong as your weakest link in that fight, because it's just like, it just takes a while for everyone to learn the patterns. And so I 100% hard mode first week. And then as far as the first goes, maybe by the end of the first week, it might be possible, just depending on like what kind of groups are forming. But otherwise, for most people that are really serious, second or third week.
Do you think that because we'll be getting the recent Korean balance changes that weren't in when you guys cleared Thaemine?
Oh, those will help so much.
Do you think that will impact
that?
I know mages win big. For sure.
Mages suffered big time in that raid. Summoners, sorceresses, even Arcana to a degree had a pretty tough time. But after the most recent balance patch, all three of those can actually excel pretty well in that raid. Between that and then the lower spacebar cooldowns, having extra mobility to save you in a pinch is so big as well. And then there's
defense coefficient.
There's defense coefficients.
Too, right?
That's also massive. And then even like the existence of like Breaker, for those who are able to raise it high enough, or even just
this guy,
like this.
Yeah,
this
not
guy.
just me. There's other people out there, but it might be me. I might be out there. He's bringing a breaker too.
A breaker, man.
Yeah, and then
Storm,
other classes are just
whatever.
really
Storm.
strong too. Like Deathblade is super strong.
We have
in that
two in our
raid.
party.
It's a really positional friendly fight overall, especially if you're playing a back attacker. That you'll be surprised that these like higher ceiling classes that typically have a hard time against bosses that turn around a lot can really make a huge difference after all these balance patches, in terms of, because the shorter the fight is, the less patterns you see, the less likely someone's going to die. If the fight drags on, then you're worried that 1 in 8 people might accidentally slip up somewhere in the fight.
I feel like the person going around with the trash can's like a mechanic, like a raid mechanic in this fight. It's like something to work around.
What if it's a security guard and he's just messing with us?
I mean, it seems like it.
All right. Well, I feel like we've covered quite a lot. Kind of in summary, there's a lot of great progression events right now. Pretty easy to get up to speed potentially, and ready for Thaemine. Might take a little while to be able to clear, especially with hard mode, especially with the first race at that original super challenging difficulty. But I think we got a lot of really good kind of tips and insight on how you can do that. But I think ultimately everyone kind of agreed, you just got to go in and get bapped until you figure it out.
Yeah, anyone can do
Things
it.
you can do, some good tips on defense and guides and whatnot, but you're not going to know until you're in there.
Trust me, if you're watching this, people beat Dark Souls on the DK64 drums. You can beat Thaemine.
I couldn't beat it without a controller. I will say, if you haven't played the game in a while, there's like 6 or 7 events going on. Henry hooked this up. And there's tons of stuff to do in the game right now. And on top of that, it's been like we had our anniversary. It's been 2 years. I never thought we'd be here at Thaemine, done with the Legion Commander raid. So I think it's cool that we're still all here and you're still playing the game. Shout out to you. It's a really exciting time, I think.
Yeah.
And you could definitely do Thaemine, at least normal,
Yeah.
as a new player.
You can be
I'm
like him
literally-
hopping into the game today.
I literally started, I don't know when this is going to go out, but from today's current date, I started, how long has it been? Like 2 weeks or something? I think a week or two since I've been back. And I am pushing a breaker, which is essentially a brand new naked character. I do have my cards in the horizontal, and I will
And they buff the cards too. They're actually up all the time. Super excited to play the game. If you haven't played in a while, I think right now is actually a great time.
You can absolutely do Thaemine. Yeah, for sure.
And as a reminder, that raid is going to launch on April 17th, and the race will begin on April 20th. So I'm really excited to watch y'all play. I know Henry's probably going to take some time off to play as
We'll
well.
see.
So
This is
looking
also
forward
my
to it.
first time hearing the date. This guy still won't tell me the date. So like, just saying,
Really?
I didn't know.
Stoopzz is known for weeks.
I mean,
No.
I have not known. Wait, this is a lie.
like-
See, this is why I get some. I
I
know.
would like to keep my
I mean-
job. I don't know why that's so shocking.
I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. I haven't played in a while.
I'm trying
I've
to take
known the
off
date
time
a
for
while.
the raid. You know, I'm trying to take my time away from my job to do the raid, which my job's also just a friendly
Well,
game.
everyone
So.
should know by now. The dates
17th.
have been
All
long.
right.
17th
17th.
and 1st on the 20th.
All right, exciting time.
Wait, hold on. When will the public actually know? Do we have to like?
We'll probably have about this video,
It'll
right?
be out
It'll be
before,
out.
But
right
isn't
before
this video
video.
coming out like way later? So-
Yeah. No, they'll
okay,
know
so we
before that.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So
This is
when
not
we
the first
stream
time they'll
tomorrow,
know.
we still don't know.
You better
guess.
not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir,
Please do
Please
not
don't.
share.
Please do not.
those
it's the
details.
17th.
Yeah.
This is that inside information.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
can't win here because I'm like, guys, I think it's going to be the 17th. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, and then
Yeah.
I'm
Just
like,
don't
well, now
answer
you
the
do know.
no, but then
Now
I
you do
no,
know.
but then I tell
Yeah.
Henry's in my chat or Tom's in my chat, and I'm like, tell them I don't know, and they're like, he knows, and it just I have to do it.
They're gonna write
You just
shit.
mix it
Stop
up.
doing that.
I mean, it's just crazy.
No.
I can't win here.
Well, you're not
You
gonna
can win the
Thaemine
race.
first either.
That's
I
not
just
gonna
can't
happen.
win the race.
Question.
That's definitely not going to happen.
It sounds like we're about to end here, but question, Saint,
Mm.
how long do you think it takes Stoopz's group to finish?
Oh, that's
Thaemine
good.
hard.
Listen, I'm just saying,
Be
like,
honest.
we live
Hard
in the
or
hold
that
on.
and the
hard.
first?
We live
Let's go with hard.
in the same household.
I'm gonna be there coaching them. Yeah.
That's right.
the balls.
With Saints help, probably 2 weeks.
2 days.
Nice.
2 days.
Very good. Good answer. See, this is why
2
he's my
days.
roommate.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there it is.
That's pretty good.
Good answer.
2 days, sure.
How long do you think it'll take you to clear the raid? How long do you think?
So I think my group usually we prog mostly on the weekend. So our goal is to finish it by weekly reset. I'm guessing it'll take us probably 4, maybe 3 or 4 days.
For hard.
3 or 4 days, sir.
For hard?
I mean, what version are we getting? I don't know, but if we get, depending on what we get.
1 day longer than you? That's not that bad.
He said 2 days is crazy. He's just lying. That's not real.
You don't think so?
He's being modest. Okay, here's a better question.
Confident.
Let's pass it.
I thought you said you just picked all the juicers from your chat. You have
I
like
picked the power of friendship, sir. I did not pick all the
Okay,
juicers.
okay.
The
The
friendly
VOD is there,
users.
right? It's gonna be,
I'm just
right? It's good. They heard it.
Yeah.
How long do you think it'll take this guy to clear
Well,
the
to
raid?
be
No,
fair,
no,
he
no,
doesn't know
no.
our
I'm
group.
passing it back on him.
He doesn't
How
know our
long did
group.
it take?
Hey, why is this all getting put on me? First of all.
You're the only one that's
Yeah,
cleared
you
it.
it.
True. But Saint has no idea.
Look at
what
him
I'm
at his
playing.
eyes. Look at his eyes. 3 days? 4 days?
Does he have what it
3
takes?
months?
Saint?
4 months?
Listen, look, actually, we can't play. That's an Amazon
We're
game.
bullying
I
them.
just- I just took the castle
We're
and
bullying the
throne.
Makoko. We're bullying the Makoko, right? I feel like it's.
You confident in your group? Do you
His
know
group-
who all your?
I don't have a group yet. Like we have half our
3
group.
months.
Cannon's been
I have
progging
a-
so many raids. He has like a lot more recent
true.
prog experience.
Okay, to
you know?
be fair,
he might be a quicker learner than the rest of us
I
at this
mean,
point.
me playing Breaker, the fact that I'm like progging these raids, I'm getting more practice.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm getting a
That's
lot
not-
of practice
that's
on
not
Breaker
false.
right now.
The truth.
And
the
I'm
truth.
playing Brawl King Fist Storm Raid
Brawl
Tornado.
King Storm.
I think you said it
sir. BKS.
Brawl, the BK. Yeah, we can't say that other word.
You got to
BK.
play Shura though.
BK, yeah.
Well, if I had to put my money on someone at this table, it'll be.
What is going
Wow.
on? This is carrying over
I'm-
from the
Wow.
debate club.
Playing
She's
with
still
him a lot.
roasting me.
He's very determined, but
Why
I
is that a
am-
roast?
It's
You don't
not a
believe in
roast.
me, Stoopzz?
It's a compliment to Henry.
You said you wanted me to do Henry guides. Now you don't even think I Henry
No,
guides. You don't even
That
think I
should
can-
happen.
You
You
don't even
guys,
think I can
Henry
clear
guys is in
Theamine
great.
now, though?
I think every
I
Makoko
don't
should
know.
learn from Henry to be great content. I would
Yes,
watch
we'll
all
see.
those
Well, I
guys.
am really excited to kind of watch everyone get into the raid once you're all streaming and it comes out. Thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate having you. Again, as we sign off here, I'm Roxx. I have Saint, Stoopzz, Henry, KANON with me. I figured if I let you guys go around the table, it would get like silent and awkward. So I just said your names for you.
Thank you.
Good
and
outro.
to the players
All right.
at home, definitely be sure to let us know what you thought of this video. Be sure to comment, like, subscribe. We've never really done anything like this before, this kind of style. So we're
Like
curious
the
to
video,
know.
please.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
He asked very
Notifications.
nicely. Yeah, we're really curious to know what you think and kind of let us know what your plans are for taking on Thaemine as well in the comments. All right. We'll see you in Arcasia.
The jazz hands. I forgot about that. Oh, the
I
throwback.
was just double waving.
I mean, you did it, so I was like,
I
oh,
was just
the
waving.
throwback.